Hi, I'm Honey. Welcome to my newly remade channel. Um, it's something I'm very, very passionate about, um, and it involves the British legal system and how that works in practice and in theory. Um, and I want to take you through where I started all the way to where I want to go. So, when I started my learning journey, I started um, just a layman, and I knew roughly what I wanted to do, but it was only when I was starting to choose um, my path through the modules that I was doing at university. It was only after that that I realised what I really wanted to do and why all those little things, all those little um, facets of the things that I enjoyed doing and things I enjoyed learning about, like the prison system, mental health system, um, other things of that nature. And then there's death and hospice care and thanatology in general, which is the study of death, if you didn't know. Um, and then there's some other medical stuff and things in there that I'm quite interested in. But and then there's the whole legal system. I'm vastly interested in all that. So it gave me all the parts, but I couldn't see the whole picture. So when I finally put those bits together, the jigsaw pieces, I came out with an entire picture, and it ended up me wanting to work within the His Majesty's prison system. Within that, I want to help and do research for and with people who are having to deal with the fact that they're going to die in prison. Now, that obviously a lot of people, it's a contentious subject, there's a lot of controversy around it. Um, and I would say that a lot of people will think, well, who cares, right? Because they've done awful things. Who cares what happens, as long as they're dead, right? But being being a scholar, anyone who is going into um, sort of that academic system has to have a sense of fairness that is absolute. You have to know right where everyone else would say, oh, just lock them up, throw away the key, who cares? But if you're an academic, you need to think about it completely fairly, no bias whatsoever, and you need to think, okay, so right at the heart of things, what is this person? It is a human being. It's a person. Okay, despite the crimes, despite their horrendous some of the stuff that they think about, any personality, it doesn't matter. That person is a human, and you have to think about them that at all times, even when you're hearing about the horrible things they've done. They are human. So you need to remember they have human rights. They have to contend with anything a human does, like how's it going to feel when I die? What sort of feelings is that going to bring up for my family? Is there life after death? All that stuff that you or I think about, they also think about. But they have the added extra on top of that. They have probably either sought to end someone's life or have ended someone's life, or have caused harm to someone else. And the question is as to whether they are in fact feeling guilty about that, or aren't they? And that the answer to that question depends entirely on how they feel about their own demise. Now, you may think that that's a very strange, you know, vocation to want to do these things and to want to have a look at these things. But when it comes to doing degrees, I'm on my bachelor's at the moment. I'll be doing masters after that, and then hopefully my PhD. Now, a PhD is a tiny little facet of whatever you're interested in. It has to be the most specific thing you could possibly think of. And it just occurred to me one day that the point that we have an aging prison population, we have an aging population in general, but we also have an aging prison population. Because of that, that means that there's research and information to be found in that area, and eventually you will be able to get some statistics and some data from that area where we haven't had it previously. So it is specifically an area that could gain us some excellent insight. So I hope that's given you an idea of what I'm about and what I'm studying. I'm currently on a law module, so that's criminal law in the courts, and I'll be doing another video coming up talking about stop and search and what your rights are as a person. You have to remember, when it comes to having a degree, you have to start wide. You have to start learning the very basics about every single factor you want to have in your eventual degree. So I'm doing an open degree, which means I'm able to do that even more specifically. So my first one was psychology, and this one is law, and then next I'm doing death, dying and bereavement. That's the one I'm looking forward to most. But the point is that you have to learn the basics before you get down to the nitty gritty, the stuff that is super interesting to you and super specific. So I'm going to take you through. I don't know exactly how long it's going to last, but I can tell you that PhD, getting up to PhD level alone can take about 10 years, especially if you're doing part-time like I am. And then on top of that, it may be another 10 years. And some people work on their PhD their whole life. So so I think it's going to be a fairly long channel. I hope to be able to, you know, get to know some of the guys that are following me. And I know I've got my family supporting me, especially Shadow. She's my editor, because I'm old and I don't understand these things. So yeah, so I've got all that support with me, and I hope you guys can join with me and support me, and I hope you find what I'm doing interesting. If you don't find it interesting, you don't have to follow, but you know, it would be it's your funeral. But I would really appreciate it if you at least stuck with me until you worked out whether I was actually interesting or any good at what I do. But the next video is going to be on stop and search, because stop and search is a really controversial subject. There's a lot of stuff online at the moment, especially on YouTube, with body cams and things like that, and there are lots of elements that you'll see in body cams within the stop and search stuff, and it's really important to know your rights when you're being stopped and searched, and whether they have, you know, whether they have the right to do that, and how they do that. And it's important information, especially for the British people, to know exactly what their rights are when they are stopped by police and asked to be stopped and searched. So I'm hoping that you'll join me for that, and I really look forward to seeing how we get on. Right, now on to the questions that you guys posed for me. I put up a post on Facebook probably a week ago or so, just introducing the channel to my Facebook followers, and it was I asked, was there any questions that you guys wanted to ask me about the subject, and that I would answer them if I could. So I've got Shadow here, who is going to read the questions, and I shall answer them to the best of my ability.
Hello. Okay. Do they believe prison populations would be better age segregated? Prisons, violent places, and older inmates are likely to be vulnerable to attack, even mistakenly, from younger inmates.
Yes, so this particular question is I think very apt, because as the question poser said, it is an aging population, and quite often people who are more the older they are, tend to be the more vulnerable they are, and I think that age segregation is important to an extent. I think it needs to be looked at on a case-by-case basis, because some older inmates may not be as vulnerable or naive, or because some older prisoners are going to be possibly have dementia, maybe, and as we know, dementia can kind of show up in lots of different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean they're vulnerable. It could also mean that they, because of their other personality disorders that they may have, that they actually become very dangerous. I think we're currently seeing a good example of this within the President of the United States. But I think it is important to remember how different factors can change the behaviour of people who may very well have been, quite dangerous, quite, conniving, manipulative, things like that early on. But as they've aged, these things have eased and they're not quite so dangerous and such. So I think the answer to that is a case-by-case basis, definitely. But I think some age segregation is important. Could I have the next question, please?
Very good. When a lifer receives a terminal diagnosis, do they, 1, face up to it / try to make amends for their past transgressions, 2, lean into it and figure, hey, I'm dying anyway, 3, accept the inevitable and look to make things right with their maker, according to their beliefs, 4, go into denial, 5, plead for release to spend their last days outside of captivity.
Okay, so I think this question actually really demonstrates how different everyone can react to the learning of their own demise. Because everyone knows that they're going to die, but you just don't know when. So if you know some of the factors about your death, it is going to change the way you behave. So you or I may find out that we are going to die tomorrow, and that would cause a very drastic reaction. But if we knew that we were going to die tomorrow, and on that day we would be imprisoned and we would not be able to do the things that humans freely can do at the end of their life, that factor of saying, I'm sorry, you're going to die, but you're going to die in prison, that factor changes an awful lot of things. So when a prisoner does in fact learn that, they're either on hospice, or perhaps they're very elderly and they're imprisoned, or, maybe they've been given, a life tariff. if any of those factors happen, then they know that that factor of them being in prison is never going to change. So that gives them some finality. But I would say that a prisoner can act, how many ways was it? 6 or 7? 7?
5.
5. So all those ways are ways that can happen. Those are all, and there's lots more as well. Reactions of
different.
Everyone is different. There's lots more reactions to people because people are, like snowflakes in that they're all different. Not a single one is the same. Therefore, not a single one of their reactions is going to be the same because of all the factors that go into that. Right. What's the next question?
This topic is quite intriguing. What brought you to this area of study? Not necessarily for your interest. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay. So I kind of answered this earlier on in the video, I guess, because of the fact that it, was part of the intro. But it's funny because the OC story is right back at the beginning. When I was a kid, because for some reason, I have no idea why, because I didn't really have much contact with it, but I had a phobia of death. Like, it was quite strong. I don't know why. I just hated it. I was scared of it. I didn't understand it. It was horrible. And that continued up until my 20s, actually. But then I discovered something very interesting. And that's that the more you learn about something, the less scary it is. Now, humans throughout history have always been frightened of things they don't understand. That is just human nature. And it is something that I think everyone understands to a degree, that people can be, that the less they know about something, the more, the more, the more sort of, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. It scares me. It freaks me out. And I think that as soon as I picked up a book about death and actually read it from cover to cover, I was hooked. And ever since that day, I've never been scared of it, and I've actually found it to be more of a, maybe, I don't know whether obsession is the right word, but I think it's been a huge influence on my decisions later on into what my career was going to be. But yeah, and then I never stopped after that. I realised that I should take all the things that I was a bit scared of and learn about them. And that's what I did. And hence why I'm now on the course I'm on. But yeah, that book, in case you're interested, I'm trying to remember what the name of it was, because my memory's not great. But I believe it was Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, by Caitlin Doherty. And she was a massive influence on me, and it just suddenly it changed from something I didn't know anything about and I was scared of, and then suddenly a fascination. And she made me fall in love with death. That was it. After that, I was so thirsty for learning. I just learned everything I could about it and anything related. So I think that was possibly what got me into it. What's the next question, please?
The core question is always, why do we do the things we do? So
that's quite a vague question, but it's an important one, I think. Why do we do the things we do? And you basically hit the nail on the head in that psychology. That's why we do the things we do. Because behavior follows your mind. So it's cognitive, isn't it? You have a cognitive thought, and then you either act on it or you don't. Now, a lot of people who are in the prison system struggle with not acting on the things that they think about. And that could be for any number of reasons, but probably the main one is personality disorders, particularly psychopathy or sociopathy, things like that, where the cognition and the link between the behavior and the thought is skewed or broken, and they just don't know how to curb what they want to do, because most people can say, for instance, okay, so say you have intrusive thoughts occasionally, and they can be anywhere from harmful to completely benign. So it depends on the person. So if I'm traveling in a car as a passenger down the road at 80 miles per hour, and I see that the door is unlocked, and I think, what would happen if I just took my seatbelt off and lobbed myself out the door? Now, despite the fact that it would cause a massive car accident probably, and probably some sort of blockage, I would say that it's something that I would not do. It's something you think about. You're thinking, what would happen if I did that? You know what would happen. You would die, and there would be a mess, and you would have to answer all sorts of questions if you didn't die. And you know what would happen. But with people who don't have that same, the same link from cognition to behavior, they end up thinking about doing something, and then they do it because for various reasons, but some just for the fun of it, because it's a new thrill. I would assume lobbing yourself out of a car at 80 miles per hour perhaps isn't the best thrill. Maybe something else. But in general, I think that's... I hope I've answered the question without making myself look like a complete nut. That was all the questions?
Yes.
Okay, so that was all the questions posed. If you have any more, and if I've piqued your interest by any chance, please feel free to comment down below. Ask me anything you want. It doesn't have to be involved with death or the prison system. It can be, about whatever. I haven't got expertise in everything, but I don't mind trying to answer stuff that's sort of kind of involved. But yeah, also, you can also ask me questions about my dog, or or my cats, or my children, or whatever. Less said about the husband, the better. He's a bit grumpy, but yeah, if I want us to be mates, so yeah, please ask anything you want. But I'll see you next time when we're going to be doing the stop and search stuff next time. Oh, look, my dog. Look. Can you see? Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? So, cameo appearance. Okay. Cameo appearance by the dog. She'll be in the credits. Anyway, I'll see you next time when we're going to be doing stop and search. Okay? Bye.